In this video, we're going to be talking about graphing a hyperbola centered at the origin. So we have two different standard forms for a hyperbola. You have one that has the horizontal transverse axis, which looks like x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. Since we're centered at the origin, the center is going to be 0, 0. Our vertices are going to look like plus or minus a comma 0. Our foci are going to be plus or minus c comma 0. Our transverse axis, because this is going to be a horizontal transverse axis, is going to be y equals 0. And our asymptotes are going to look like y equals plus or minus b over a x. If we're looking at a hyperbola with a vertical transverse axis that's centered at the origin, it's going to look like y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. The center is going to be, again, 0, 0. Our vertices are going to be 0 plus or minus a. Our foci, 0, comma, plus or minus c. Our transverse axis, because this is vertical, is going to be x equals 0. And our asymptotes are going to look like y equals plus or minus a over b times x. So let's look at an example. In the example, we have here in Alex, we have 9x squared minus y squared equals 9. So the first thing we want to do is rewrite this. We need to get equals 1 on one side. So we have 9x squared minus y squared equals 9. We're going to divide both sides by 9, and that's going to give us x squared minus y squared over 9 equals 1. Next, we want to find our a and b. So we have x squared minus y squared over 9 equals 1. This is the same thing as saying x squared over 1 squared minus y squared over 3 squared equals 1. So here our a is equal to 1 and our b is equal to 3. One thing to note is that our hyperbola is a horizontal transverse parabola. So our transverse is at y equals 0. Next, let's find our asymptotes. So we know that a is equal to 1 and b is equal to 3. And this is a horizontal transverse problem. So in that case, our asymptotes look like y equals plus or minus b over ax. So we have y equals plus or minus 3 over 1x, which is just y equals plus or minus 3x. And then last, we need to find our vertices. So our vertices, because this is horizontal, look like plus or minus a comma 0. So that means we have plus or minus 1 comma 0. So we have 2 points here. We have 1 comma 0 and we have negative 1 comma 0 for our vertices. So we can take all of this information that we have and we can graph our hyperbola. So first, let's just go ahead and mark our center. Our center is at 0, 0 because this is centered at the origin. And then we can start placing information that we have. So there's our center. We know that our vertices are at 1, 0 and negative 1, 0. And then it asks us to place an asymptote. So here we want to go from the center and we want to look at the equation of our asymptote, and we see that our slope there is 3. So we want to go up 3 and over 1. And that will be the graph to this hyperbola.